invitation to a wonderful event, I believe.
That's right. I bet you it has
You know, I'm presenting today.
50 in it, 125.
Yeah, so
My boss was on the phone right before I came in the building, and I said, I got to go. I said, I got to go in here and get paid for this meeting.
Yeah, they put you next to me. They don't know us very well, do
Good to
they?
me. That's what it is. I don't want to miss that.
Okay, I have it 1 o'clock, so we'll get started. Call to order, and Jake, I'll let you do the roll call.
Chairman Sparks,
Here.
Al Bowden,
Here.
Stephen Moffitt,
Here.
Dan Strasser,
Here.
Dan McDonough,
Here.
Darby Self. Here. All are present.
Thank you. And I understand that's going to be the last roll call we have to do because everyone is here for this particular meeting. And I'm glad everyone is here. It's something that we need to continue to have here at UT Martin, and we need to continue to spread out in our communities and tell them about great things that are going on here at UT Martin. And speaking of great things, Yancey, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. It is great to be back. We are in the 4th week of class, and it still seems like class started just yesterday. There is quite a bit of excitement across the campus. In fact, I remember the first day when students came back on that Sunday. I was like, oh my goodness, there's nowhere to park. And I said, oh my goodness, people are walking everywhere. It's taking me 10 minutes to get to where I'm going. And was still very excited and said, oh my gosh, they are all back, and it makes me excited to see our students back, faculty back. We've started with a real bang, and I'm excited about this semester up and going. A couple of things I want to just make sure that I do so that I don't get myself in trouble and forget. I do want to acknowledge in the audience we have Ashley Mallon with us, who is our student UT Board of Trustee member who's here today. And so I want to make sure that we acknowledge her, senior finance major, and is serving on the board. It's UT Martin's turn to serve, and so she is the selected person. She is a senior finance major out of our College of Business and Global Affairs, and she's going to do a great job this year. So thank you, Ashley. And then I know we talked earlier about having just a moment of silence for President John Peterson, who served as the University of Tennessee president from 2004 until 2009. He passed away on September the 11th. And so I know that the chair and I talked for a moment about having a moment of silence in observance of his service to the university and also his death. So. Thank you. And I'll stop. I have lots of things to share, but I'll stop for now and let us walk through the agenda and come back later and have some additional comments.
Which there's a lot of things in the agenda that will create some discussion, but that's great. First item of business is the approval of minutes. I will accept a motion to accept, or we can read through the whole minutes if you want to.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We have a relatively short meeting today, which I'm going to encourage you when we get around to some of these items, the enrollment and retention, to ask Destin as many questions that you could possibly come up with, and Jake when he presents the strategic plan. But before we do that, every year we have the UT Presidential Award winners, and every year UT Martin seems to have some outstanding people that get selected for these. I believe Judy Sandifer, is Judy here?
Yes.
There, stand up, Judy. She won the President's Award in the Excel All We Do. We appreciate you very much for keeping Yancey and everybody straight. Gina McClure won the Optimistic and Visionary Award. Gina could not be with us this afternoon, but we certainly want to recognize her if you see her running around any ball games and anything like that. Cameron Eccles. Cameron is here. He won the Presidential Award for Embrace Diversity. Thank you, Cameron. And Tara. Tara also won the award for Embrace Diversity, but she also has already gotten on to me about Union City and Greenfield playing women's basketball this year. And Ben Jones, who won the UT Foundation President's Award. These are all outstanding people that do an outstanding job for UT Martin. And again, every time you see them, thank them for the service that they give, and especially Gina, since she was not able to be here today. Okay. Now we will go, if I can get to my agenda to make sure that I'm right, we will go to the enrollment and retention updates, which Dr. Destin Tucker will present that. And make your notes for very difficult questions for Destin.
I'll do my best. Thank you for having me today. I always love sharing good news, and we've got a lot of good news to share today. So our fall enrollment is 8,101 students. That is almost an 8% increase over last fall. And if you're keeping track, that's 2 straight increases of 8% year over year. It is tied for our second highest enrollment, which was in 2009, when I realized that second highest enrollment was exactly 8,101. I asked our institutional research people, don't we have like one student who's added late? Turns out we had 7, but then he said, I don't know, there was a really good reason why we didn't add them back in. So we're tied for second, but I know we're going to surpass that next year. Our highest enrollment was in 2010, the following year. If you're interested in that, it was 8,469 students. So we are home this fall to students from 29 countries, 40 states, and 87 Tennessee counties. About 7.2% of our students are from out of state, 0.7% are international, and then about 92% are in-state this fall in our overall enrollment. And so Ryan McDonald, who's our Director of Institutional Research, created this roadmap for us. When Dr. Freeman kept saying, we're getting to 10,000 students, 10,000 students, everybody just kept looking around like, well, how are we going to do that? And so he really laid out this roadmap for us and how we can get to that 10,000 student mark. So even better news that we're up 8%. We exceeded our goal for this fall. Our goal was 7,911 students, so we exceeded that by 2.4%. This enrollment growth model is based on 5% increases in our new student populations each fall, some incremental increases each spring, and then average retention and progression rates over the last 5 years. And so, of course, growth is cumulative, but we've got a little bit of a head start on our fall 26 number at this point. He is going to take all of our fall census data that we've had this fall and kind of look at that and see where we can make some adjustments in the model. Our retention, I'll talk about, continues to be strong, and so we may be able to make some adjustments there. But overall, looking really strong. And of course, the model includes specific goals, and so we're not just looking at that overall number. We're looking at those subpopulations, those first-year students, those dual enrollment students, how students are progressing as undergraduate students, graduate students, all of those things. So we are really monitoring these so that we can tailor our recruitment, retention, and program development efforts to meet these goals. So with all that being said, I wanted to compare this year's enrollment to last year's enrollment, but then also how we met each individual benchmark within that enrollment growth model. So fall 2025 enrollment is up in every category compared to fall 2024. We exceeded our enrollment model's projections in both total enrollment and in undergraduate students. Graduate students were just below the benchmark, but just barely, that 0.1% below that enrollment growth model. Full-time equivalent, our FTE, was up 8.1%, which outpaced our overall headcount increase by just a little bit, 0.2 percentage points. And so this really suggests that we don't just have more students, but more students are enrolling in fuller course loads, which is a positive indicator for that engagement and retention that we are tracking. And so really, our undergraduate momentum is fueling our overall success at this point, and we're outperforming the model in several key areas, and then we have so many opportunities with graduate students as well. So lots of positive indicators. Looking at some of those subpopulations, our first-year students had a 9% increase over last year, and last year we were a 9% increase over the year before. So we are really in a good place with recruiting our first-year students. 10% of our first-year students are out of state this year, so a little bit higher percentage than our overall enrollment. The top states are Illinois and Kentucky, where we got the most out-of-state students from. And looking at our Tennessee counties, our number one county, again, was Shelby County. We have 12% of our incoming class from Shelby County this year. 7% from Weakley and Gibson counties. 6% Obion, 5% Carroll. I always have to put Carroll, that's where I'm from. 5% Carroll, and then Madison and Dyer at 4%. So we do have a stronghold, certainly, in this region, but then we continue to gain momentum in Middle and East Tennessee and other counties as well. Transfers. We thought we were going to be down in transfers. We were behind all year in transfers, but because of some late student athletes and just a lot of other factors, we ended up being just 0.3% up. So we're going to count it. I think it was one extra student over what we had last year, so we're going to count it. We were, of course, below the model there as far as our projected growth, and so that's an area of opportunity for us. I'm hearing from my friends in athletics, from Ashley Bynum, that they're potentially going to change some of the transfer portal windows, which that could impact our transfer enrollment for fall. It probably will increase it for spring moving forward if that comes through. So those are just things that we're going to be monitoring and keeping in mind, and we can make adjustments in that enrollment model projection based on some of those changing factors. Dual enrollment continues to just knock it out of the park. We are 16% up over last year. We have over 2,000 dual enrollment students at UTM, and they are certainly an important part of our overall enrollment and growth strategies. They help build that pipeline of students who can come here as full-time students and just help get our name out there across this region. I asked Erica Bell, who's over the dual enrollment area, kind of where did some of those growth areas come from. Hamilton County was a big growth area. Soddy Daisy High School and Hickson High School, we had big growth there in dual enrollment. We had strong gains in South Gibson, Brighton, Fayetteware, and several other area schools, and so lots of wins there. They've also really focused on individualized support for those faculty members and for the students, and so students are taking more classes with us in dual enrollment, and so they're repeating, coming back to us the next semester and the next fall and getting those dual enrollment credits in. Our returning undergraduates are up 6%, which shows stability in our retention. So even with a slight dip in our first-year retention rate, we're proud to report our second highest first-year retention in 8 years, which we feel like is a strong signal and that our student success efforts are working. Our summer trend was flat. We tracked it all summer, every week. Dr. Brad Baumgartner sent us updates, and we were tracking kind of flat all summer, so we knew we were just right there. But that fee payment deadline and then just a few factors there at the end of the summer, we did get a little bit of a dip. Now we're really diving in to see exactly what happened to the students who didn't come back. And so some preliminary things, about 60 of those students were academically ineligible, about 20% of them. 160 of them, though, were eligible but didn't return, and their average GPA was a 2.93. So it wasn't academics that kept them away. And the student success counselors have a lot of data on that, but we're really diving into that to see how we can maybe, not have as many next year. We did have a new initiative this year with a bridge grant program for students who lost their academic scholarship. They have to have a 2.75 UTM GPA, cumulative GPA, to keep that scholarship to the next year. And so students who were in good standing but did not meet that 275, who were first-year students last fall, we offered them a bridge scholarship, which was a smaller amount for one semester to try to let them know we still believe in them, we know they can do this, and then we're giving them the opportunity to earn their scholarship back either in the spring or next fall. And so we did have quite a few students take us up on that, and we did see an increase in the retention in that student group. And so efforts like that, I think, will help us maintain that 77% and hopefully surpass that in the future. And on the overall undergraduate student retention side, of course, we're the highest in recent years. We're up 5 percentage points since 2020, and this is really a collective effort of faculty and staff to increase student support and remove barriers. We went through a big, I think we've talked about in here, our academic catalog refresh, where we streamlined a lot of general education curriculum, and we're seeing that hard work pay off in this retention rate. We've reduced the number of unnecessary registration holds, just trying to remove those barriers for students. And we've expanded our tutoring offerings, academic coaching, and supplemental instruction. Looking ahead, we're going to continue to build on this momentum. We've got a lot of other things on the horizon. We just opened our library learning commons to help strengthen retention and graduation outcomes, and so that's where our academic coaching hub is going to be for most of our subject areas, and students are going to be able to walk in and get help with just about anything they need in that space. So really excited about that new space and what that's going to offer our students. All right, and we're looking ahead. So our next goal is clear, 8,348 students by next fall, and I'm confident that we'll get there the same way we've come along so far. We're going to focus on our recruitment strategies, removing barriers, supporting student success, and working together across every corner of our institution. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Destin, I'm confident you're going to meet 8348, but gee whiz, another 8% increase would get you up to about 8,750.
We'd be number one then, number one in our history.
On your transfers, we've talked over the years about obstacles and things like that.
Yes.
Are any of those obstacles for transferring credits and all, or are they getting eliminated?
Yes, that's getting a lot better with
Good.
that streamlining of the general education curriculum, and there's probably others in the room. I see Dr. Colich who can speak a little bit better about this if you have real detailed questions. I'll defer to her, but yes, really streamlining those general education requirements and making sure that we are documenting that appropriately on our side. If a student satisfies a section of gen ed at another Tennessee institution, it's satisfied here too, even if we don't have the courses here. And so we're making sure that we are adhering to all of those policies very clearly, and we can see it making a difference.
Good. That has to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I know you keep up with where your transfers come from. Do you keep up with where your transfers go? And I'm talking about the non-athletic, because that's a different deal. But do you know why? I know you're studying it, but do you know why they leave and where they go?
We have not. We could probably find that out. We know a little bit about that when they request transcripts being sent and those kinds of things. We probably could analyze that through the National Student Clearinghouse a little better than we do right now. A lot of times we're analyzing the clearinghouse data to see the students who were accepted and didn't come where they went, so we can maybe try to make sure we're more competitive with those strategies, but that's something that we could definitely look at.
And lastly, on your retention, how do we compare with our peers when it's at 85 point whatever it was?
Yes, last time our comparable and our aspirational peers, we were right at the average or even above in a lot of those categories. Am I remembering that right, Dr. Freeman?
Yes,
When we saw that, the
absolutely.
UT Board of Trustees usually goes through all of that, and so we perform really well in that area.
Yancey pointed out that we were second in the system, UT Southern, although they've got an advantage because they're much smaller.
Yes, yes.
Their 8.1 was easier to obtain than your 8%,
Mm-hmm.
or your 7.9. Y'all have done a great job. I think that we have a real good chance of getting to 10,000 before 2030.
We'll take it. Yeah, and then we're going to say, what's the next number? I don't know. Well, we won't say it out loud yet.
Well, it's like Randy Boyd. He wants the 2020s to be the greatest decade in the history of the UT system, and I told him, I said, yeah, that's until January 1st of 2030. Then you want this decade that we're in right now to be the second best
Yes.
it's ever, and that's the way we are here.
Mm-hmm.
Growth is good, in spite of the chancellor. I'm kidding.
Yes.
Other questions?
Dr. Tucker, congratulations on the increase. I know that doesn't go just to you, but everybody. It's really good to see that in every category. We've had a focus and a goal for the international students. Where does that play into this number, and how's that looking? And then a second question, what's the focus on military, recruiting the military into the students?
Okay. So our international student plan, we did not quite meet our goals there this year. We had some challenges with students getting visa appointments and just kind of getting through some of those barriers, but we have not given up on that plan. We actually regrouped with Dr. Freeman, Dr. Colich a few weeks ago, and have decided to go ahead and let's continue that effort and see if we can get more international students. The goal is 500 ultimately. We'll see if we get there, but we've set a goal to have 25 additional international students this time next fall, and so we're going to work toward that. Now, our athletic teams are helping us a little bit on that side. That 0.7% of our enrollment is international students. The large majority of those are student athletes with us.
And then military?
Military, yes. So we have Services Coordinator here at UTM, who that's his primary focus, is making sure that we're meeting with those veteran students, students receiving veterans benefits, and really helping onboard them and provide support once they're here as well. Part of our new strategic enrollment plan is to help strengthen some of those efforts on campus, potentially adding another staff member to help with that, and do some more intentional outreach, especially in some of our surrounding areas, maybe partnering with some of our UT Martin centers. But we serve students really well, military students.
I'll just say behind what Dr. Tucker has said already, the one sort of strategy that I am most concerned about, that I was and have been and continue to be most concerned about, is that international number, right? Because it's one that is really difficult and beyond our control. It's not just sort of local control. It's not state control. It has federal implications in terms of how students are able to navigate and get through that process. And so we ran into some obstacles with new federal administration and, some changes that, that they wanted to make at the federal level. I think we're going to be able to adjust. Some of that's going to settle. It'll be able to adjust. And so we made the decision to, stay the course. We're going to, pull back just a little bit, but stay the course and try to continue to increase in international students as we go. I share with the team, this is a marathon and not necessarily a sprint in terms of where we want to go.
How are your satellites doing, especially Springfield, that's being the newest one?
Springfield, I think there were some challenges this year with Springfield. I'm not sure exactly what those were, but I remember seeing some communication. Dr. Freeman, do you know?
They closed the Springfield Center for some renovation, and so it struggled just a little bit with students who were on site, but it is now back up and functioning and open, and I anticipate we'll continue to see it go really well, numbers there to go really well.
I know our Parsons Center saw their highest enrollment ever this year when you include the dual enrollment students, and so that was really positive. And so overall, total, our center enrollment did see an increase this year.
When the dual enrollment students graduate high school and move into their next phase, do we retain most of those?
We get about a quarter of them currently to enter as first-year students at UT Martin. We would love to have more. We do a lot of outreach to those students, give them kind of special privileges. We always waive their application fee. We let them sign up for orientation first and do some other things. Of course, the high schools are choosing us as the dual enrollment institution, not the student necessarily. And so sometimes it's just getting our word out. But we know that the faculty teaching those courses can be our best, salespeople. But it does give us a lot of students in the pipeline that we can communicate with and, recruit. And we're always thinking about ways to do more with that.
I may have asked this in a last meeting, and I should know the answer, but on graduate students for university this size, are we exceeding or behind, or is that a place for growth in graduate students? Where do we fit compared to other universities our size there?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how we fit with other institutions. We do have room for growth there, and we definitely have growth strategies for many of those programs. We've recently done some restructuring around the operations side of that, and Michaela Waterfield's here. She's Director of Enrollment Communications and Operations, but she's been meeting with all the graduate coordinators this week to streamline all of their applications and how we admit students. What we've learned about graduate students, research tells us the institution that accepts them first is usually the one they're going to go to. And so we're really trying to catch up with some of that on the operations side. And so we've pulled that under the same umbrella as undergraduate admissions, where we've had a lot of success, and hopefully we'll be able to see some growth in that area. We are looking to potentially add a new graduate program in the next 2 or 3 years. The public health was part of our new strategic enrollment plan, and so that's in the very, very early planning stages and research stages now. And so we do see opportunity for growth in some of those areas.
I have a question for you, Justin. First, congratulations to you and to everybody who's working on this. I mean, very impressive. I was reading in the newspaper that in the Chicago Tribune about my old alma mater, University of Illinois, that their University of Illinois system has really done well, but the other schools around the state have been getting hammered. So I'm wondering, is that true here too? Because it looks like the UT system's doing well. We're doing well with it.
yeah, I've gotten some preliminary, unofficial information about where other institutions stand. What I do know right now is there were some institutions in the state that had substantial enrollment increases. Austin P fared really well this year. We've mentioned UT Southern already. UTM was, right up there in terms of some of the highest percentage increases for across the state. And then there were others that didn't fare so well, this fall also. And so those numbers are still very early coming in with 14-day census numbers varying across the state. They wait until everyone has submitted their numbers, and then they do a release to higher ed institutions. So that's kind of what we know so far.
So we're looking pretty good compared to everybody.
We have, last year we had the highest percentage increase. We were 1/10% behind UT Southern this year, so we've done really, really well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You've done a great job. Jake is going to give us a strategic plan update.
So this will be you all's first and really everyone's first opportunity to see our new strategic plan dashboard and our strategy around how we will communicate and track that progress. So from the launch of the strategic plan process, not just from the passage of the plan, but really from the start of the process, Chancellor Freeman was very intentional with three main objectives that he communicated primarily to me. That the plan would be a living document, that the university would be transparent with both its internal and external stakeholders, and that we would be held accountable through data-driven assessment of progress. And so just as a reminder, the plan has 5 ambitious goals through our 5-year process. With those 5 goals, we have 24 strategies. And then with each strategy, we have assigned upwards of 30-plus faculty, staff, and in some instances, community members that will help ensure both that accountability and drive those results. Every strategy has a designated lead with full accountability for those results. Strategy leads have the flexibility to recruit additional expertise throughout the campus, and also they have the opportunity to delegate operations, but ultimately those strategy leads that were designated will have ultimate responsibility for reporting to the chancellor and campus leadership. So nearly every cabinet member has been assigned to at least one strategy team, and a number of them serve as the leads for multiple strategies. Essentially, all of these leads and campus leaders have the responsibility of both driving progress and reporting, but ultimately achieving each of the strategies. I have made the comment several times that the strategy leads, when we talk about where we are on each strategy, is the throat to choke. That they will be the person that whether we do meet the goal or in the impossibility that we don't meet a goal, those will be the person that we will look to answer why we were not able to achieve that. I do just want to mention, so you'll see all of those are cabinet members. I do just want to mention a couple of gold stars on those leads. So Provost Stephanie Kolich has jumped in with both feet. She obviously was not the strategy lead when we passed this strategic plan. She has 4 strategies assigned to her and that she's leading. And then Director Alicia Melton, has 7 of our 24 strategies, so she is the lead leader. And so both doing excellent work. Not to mention that everybody else is doing a good job, but those 2 deserve gold stars. So as we think about the reporting framework, our multi-tiered reporting system ensures that we have transparency and accountability at every single level. Strategy leads will provide regular updates through structured quarterly reports and be prepared for additional reporting as needed. So in the event that a community organization has a specific goal or a specific initiative that they want to talk about, that strategy lead would be identified to go out and also report on that information. So our reporting framework accommodates a diverse group of stakeholder needs, from detailed operational updates at the with high-level strategic summaries. Strategy leads are to be prepared to communicate effectively across all organizational levels. I know several of us have met with various departments related to some of the strategies or the overall strategic plan, and we still will continue to be called to do that. Strategy leads will also collaborate closely with our friends in university relations to ensure that the strategic plan progress is prominently featured in the Chancellor's annual report. We anticipate that that annual report now will be able to collect verified and measurable outcomes. We'll be able to complete a compelling narrative of our progress and impact. We'll be able to provide a visual representation of achievement, and that we'll be able to share community and stakeholder success stories through that annual report process. And then we have also developed a dashboard. So working with, Destin mentioned Director Ryan McDonald. Ryan also worked with us on this effort as well. Ryan, working with the strategy leads, helping him to develop a comprehensive dashboard featuring key performance indicators, data visualization standards, and audience-appropriate metrics to track and communicate progress effectively. And so I hope this now works. So this is the first page of the dashboard. So the dashboard will be on the Chancellor's landing page, right past where you'll see a link for the strategic plan. And so this is where you'll go first, and then you can click on each one of the goals, and it will take you to our dashboard. So each of the goals is divided out, so you'll see them along the top. And then there will be key indicators. Now currently, goals that are above target are indicated in green, below target are indicated in red, on target are in the dark blue, and then there is to be determined. I will just preface you all with saying that there are a lot of TBDs currently in the dashboard. That is primarily because much of the work that we're currently doing is right now either creating baseline or that this year is the baseline data. And so this dashboard will look much different next year when we have a full year's worth of information. A couple of things that I also just want to point out. So as Destin so eloquently mentioned, enrollment growth is above target. So you can then click on this percentage, double click on that percentage, and it'll take you to a text box that gives you a little more background into each one of those data points. So it shows you here that we're 8%. That is above target because that target is currently based upon a 5% annual enrollment growth. One of those that you all asked about, and so y'all stole my thunder, we're obviously under in international growth, and so you can see what the baseline is there, and then the determination of, so essentially what we would be doing is growing international enrollment growth to 55% of where we currently are over the course of that 5-year period. I have to remind some of the strategy leads, Bud Grimes, that this is also a marathon and not a sprint, and that we're not going to be responsible for achieving all the goals in year 1, certainly not in the first 6 months of year 1. So when you look at goal 2, the thing that I wanted to point out here is CTL, so the Center for Teaching and Learning. Currently you see that we're on target there with 35% of our participating. Ultimately what we want to be is at 50% of all of our faculty faculty participating in the CTL. That's a new initiative that we launched through the Title III grant. And so there you'll see kind of what that data point is. Moving on, I won't go through all of these. You all can play with it later. So new faculty Canvas training. Let's see, because I can't see it here. Well, we'll talk about upgraded signage. So you'll see we're at 0 there. So that's a strategy that Vice Chancellor McPherson is working on. Currently, we are, as you'll see, at 0%. So ultimately, we want to replace and upgrade 100% of the university signage by 2030. And so we are currently working through that process, but we have not, but we're still in the planning stages on that goal. So in goal 4, develop a unified strategy. So ultimately, the purpose of this goal is when we think about how we communicate both with internal and external partners. I know that some of you all, as you have been communicated with, and there's a question of like what rises to the level of communicating a piece of information early with the advisory board, and then how do we communicate then to various constituent groups, and then how do we then communicate that out to the greater public. And so the ultimate goal here would be to create somewhat of a decision tree of this happens, this is the group that gets communicated first, this is where our second communication group would be, this is a large-scale change at the university, we want to communicate that out more broadly, and so development of that strategy as we move forward. And then looking on to goal 5. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out here is this one here, the Student Award Program. So when you click on that, so currently in the works, the development of a program that recognizes students who excel academically in service to UTM. Currently development of a program tentatively titled the Skyhawk Summit Scholar Award to reflect Coach Pat Head Summit's legacy and values. Plan to be implemented in fall of 2027. And so you'll see more information as you click on those strategies. And then another one that I just wanted to point out, this is, as I said, star student, Alicia Meltons. This is one of her strategies. And the Skyhawk Innovation Challenge. So you all may have heard about the UT Grand Challenges. That's a grant program where faculty and staff are tasked with coming up with some idea to offset one of the challenges that the UT system has identified across the state. Alicia has developed a program that by spring of 2026, hopefully, the Institute's annual university-wide competition to solicit creative proposals for addressing regional problems. Currently, this project is on track and awaiting funding for implementation. And so you can also, not only does it give it background, but also as we move forward, those things that don't currently have an accomplished goal, strategy leads can communicate with Ryan on where we currently sit in a more narrative form so that the broader community can see how we're tracking those. And so I'm not sure how to get out of this now. Chris, wait. Yeah, perfect. So, question.
Mr. Bynum,
Chairman Sparks.
yeah, if I look at this and I look at the growth, for example, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, will that be an annual by year, or will that be from 2025 until 2028, if that's what I'm looking at?
So it depends. So it will depend. It depends on what the marker is.
Okay.
And so where we anticipate, as you click on those boxes, those boxes allow us to put in a more narrative form. And
Okay.
so I think, so enrollment growth for us is year-over-year comparison, really, when you think about it. And so that probably will always be a number that says this is what this year's enrollment growth. There are strategies where it is clearly identified that we need to track all the through progression over the next 5 years. Ryan has done a really good job of developing the dashboard, but we have also acknowledged the fact that there are two things. There are just some things that are just not easily trackable. And so when I mention that communication strategy to stakeholders, once that's done, that will just become like done. And it'll go into the green, and it'll always just stay green. And then there are things that are just more complicated to track as well, or that you have to create a baseline and then make some adjustments after that baseline is indicated.
Who has a responsibility for the input of this information? Obviously, not all the people can just go in and change things.
So Ryan McDonald with Institutional Research is really tasked with maintaining the dashboard. And so that happens but it does happen a couple of different ways. So I mentioned those quarterly reports. So all of the strategy leads are tasked with providing those quarterly reports. If it's a trackable number, they'll be responsible with putting those reports in. Those reports are collected by us. They're housed in one location, so Ryan then has access to those reports. The broader campus community, so the outside community won't have access to those reports, but the campus community will, to go in and look at that information in a little more detail, see where we're progressing, and then Ryan will essentially update that information working with those strategy leads.
How often will it be updated? And that leads to my real question. If you were to tell me that I need to go in and review this, do I need to review it monthly, quarterly, weekly? You know, what would be the best for me to be able to look at it?
Yeah, so that's kind of a double-edged sword too. But essentially, quarterly is when those reports are due. And so if there are numbers that change on a quarterly basis, then they would get updated on the dashboard. Really, so let's again take enrollment, because that's a one and done every year. And so if you looked at it today and looked at it 6 months from now, the percentage is still going to be the same, because we're going to track fall to fall, really. But there are opportunities where some of those numbers would change potentially could change on a quarterly basis.
And if something's due on a quarterly, which if I'm assuming you're talking about a calendar quarter, when would I expect those to be posted? You know, January to March. When would it be? The middle of April, the end of April?
So
I'm just asking.
I'm now spitball. I'm just now making this up. So
and that's fine.
Is there any indication that he was once a politician?
You all know that there are just timing things that happen because they happen in the timing. So you all have asked for an enrollment update essentially at every board meeting. That's not so, and that's worth noting. So Destin is the lead on strategy 1 and goal 1, strategy 1, which, by the way, no big surprise, is 10,000 by 2030. And so Destin is the lead on that strategy. While I've said like that percentage is only like really identified in the fall of every year, Destin is still responsible with providing a quarterly report to say this is what we're doing in order to get to that 5% enrollment goal every single fall. And so I would anticipate that September would also be the time where we would, because that just makes the most logical sense as these things sit on top of each other, that as Destin presents the fall enrollment, we also would have a broader communication about the strategic plan. Although I would say that much like enrollment, there is the real potential that someone talks about the strategic plan in a very formal way at every single one of the advisory board meetings to provide, at a minimum, you all with an update of that information.
I agree. Other questions? One of the board members that has the same last name as you pointed out, you've retained your political rhetoric.
They didn't hire me for nothing.
That was very good. All right. Chancellor?
Yes, sir.
I think it's time for you maybe to give us some comments that you want to do, and I would ask that you include in there maybe the building projects that are going on.
Okay.
School of Business, the dormitory,
Okay.
and the test hub.
I will definitely try to do that, certainly. And I want to go a little bit off kilter here and go backwards up the agenda again and just say I am incredibly proud of the strategic plan. It is bold, it is innovative, it is visionary and forward-thinking. I think it's going to be impactful, of course, for the university over the next 5 years. For me, you will not accomplish what you do not measure. And so we have spent painstaking time around talking about what are the goals, what are the actual numerical goals of where we will go for those things that you can attach physical numbers to. And so it is important that we measure it. It is important that not just the way that we walk, but the way that we talk about the plan makes it a breathing, living document on the campus. It may be that we don't get to every single strategy. We don't reach every single strategy by the time we get there, but the plan and the goals are intended to be reach goals for us as well. So I am not going to be upset, maybe just a little bit upset, if we don't get to every single goal that's listed there. I will be upset if we don't try. And so I want us putting full effort into making sure that we get there. But you do that by measuring it. And so for me, that's the most important piece of this. I hope that the dashboard reflects our desire and commitment to keep this going and to meet all 24 strategies that are connected to the goals of the strategic plan. Just to talk for a minute about enrollment, because I do not want to in any way brush this over. It is phenomenal growth for our campus. 8% to get to 8% again, 2 years in a row to lead this state in terms of enrollment is phenomenal growth for UTM. We have, as Dr. Tucker mentioned, reached the second highest enrollment in the campus's history. That is significant, and I want to make sure that folks understand that that is a significant accomplishment for our campus. I am incredibly proud of the enrollment management team, incredibly proud of all of our faculty and staff, because it is a team effort for us to get there. Every single person has to be pushing in the same direction for us to get to that sort of goal. We've gotten to the 14th day. We're going to celebrate for a couple of days, and then admissions folks are already on the ground running, trying to get us to the next sort of goal. And so no rest for the weary as we continue to think about what's the next sort of goal for us for the campus, and you've seen some of those things as we go. But from the bottom of my heart, I want to just express my appreciation to the campus and to the team for the incredible work to get us to this number, and we got beyond 8,000 students, and so I'm happy about that. I'm going to just we have as well the 125th anniversary celebration of the founding of this campus. For some of you who did not know, UTM, as the Hall Moody Institute, was founded in 1900. And so we're going to have celebrations, because you don't turn 125 every year. So we're going to have celebrations. You have in front of you already the invitation to the 125th ceremony and luncheon that's going to happen on October the 10th. We'll do it. We think we have most of the previous chancellors coming back to campus to visit, and I'll get to really quiz them, and they can tell me all of the stories, wonderful and amazing and horror stories about their time on campus and the legacy of the campus as well. But I am looking forward to that celebration during our homecoming week, and then in the fall of 26, which was the first semester in 1901 where we had classes, we're going to have a really big party. We're not sure yet. I keep trying to get them to see if we can put it near Pacer Pond. It might be in the athletic parking lot. There's a little bit more shade over there to have it there, but we're going to have a really big party celebration, because what is a birthday without a birthday party? So we're going to do that next fall to celebrate the first semester of classes for our campus. But great
Chancellor,
legacy.
You
yes.
said you're going to be quizzing them. I suspect they're going to be quizzing you
I'm
with your
sure.
level of success the past few years. So they're going to say, how did you do it?
I am there, definitely going to be there to
An outstanding
to
advisory board.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
There you go.
that is exactly what
That'll
I
be a good answer.
That's what I'll tell them, for sure. Last thing I'll share, and then I want to answer the questions from our chairperson, is about the Chancellor's Leadership Academy. I am fully invested in ensuring that we are investing in the faculty and staff who are here. We have 13 members of the inaugural class of the Chancellor's Leadership Academy, and they had their first session, I guess it was a week and a half ago, and I felt accomplished by getting that group there, because it offers a chance to pull back the veil on how decisions are made and allows us to be transparent. They're going to have an opportunity to talk with the senior leadership team for UTM in a meaningful way. They're going to get to meet some of the top UT leadership team throughout this next 8 months during their tenure in the Leadership Academy. We're doing some executive coaching for them as well. It is an investment in succession planning for this team. I want to make sure that the legacy that I leave is, if I hit the lottery, there are 3 more people that can step up and take the role, right, and do this really, really, really well. And so that succession planning piece is important. Investing in the really talented and incredible folks that we have here hopefully demonstrates that it means something to be here, to be dedicated and loyal to this institution. And so we want to push folks forward as we go. So really proud of the Chancellor's Leadership Academy. So to answer questions about where we are with capital projects, and I know Petra is here. She's trying to hide behind Bud. To answer questions about capital projects, we are in the beginning phases of planning for the CBGA building. There is almost a year of sort of planning before you take down any bricks or do anything. And so we're in the programming phase of that process for that building. We are meeting with faculty that teach in the College of Business and Global Affairs and talking with them about what does learning look like? What does the classroom setting need to look like? How do you best teach our students? We have a great opportunity, and it's one time for us to be able to get this right. Not just to think about the classroom today, but to envision what the classroom will look like tomorrow. And so we're meeting and talking with them. I anticipate that process is going to go for a little bit of time. We'll have the architects come in and create a design for us. We'll put an RFP out on the street to have a construction company come in, and there will be some bidding that will happen there. We'll haggle over price on where we are, and then we'll begin with the construction process for CBGA. As you know, that building, the current location, we're going to keep it at the same site. We're going to demo the current building. Those faculty and staff members in the CBGA building are going to move into surge space in Johnson EPS, and so that's going to be surge space for them as we demo that building and then bring the building back up. We're projecting that it is going to be sometime in 2029 that the building will be ready, so it does take a little bit of time, especially when you're demoing and then trying to erect a new facility in its place. So that's kind of where we are there. The test hub we are in the process of some value engineering on the test hub. We have, I think, $18.5 million in the budget, and it came back after construction bids at $22 million or somewhere in that neighborhood. And so you begin then to start talking about, okay, how do you cut some things back in the project and still make it whole and still have what you need. We're really, really close, from what I understand, to being able to really turn dirt over in that space. It is going to be over where the campus recreation facility is right now. It'll be just behind that facility near Pacer Pond as well. So we're really close to that value engineering process being done. I anticipate that it'll be sometime in the spring that we'll be able to start that construction. I think we're projecting it to be about an 18-month process. And then from there, we'll be able to, to open that test tub. Coincidentally, I will just share, it is, to my knowledge, it's the only facility that is a partnership across all spectrums of higher ed. So the TCAP McKenzie, Dyersburg State, and UTM are partnering in that facility, and those two institutions, other institutions, will have space in the test tub. So excited about it, and walking through a process now to ensure that it gets off the ground and gets going. And then finally, the residence hall it is on schedule as well. We have done the initial programming piece to it. We have construction bids back on that building, and Dr. Luder is here. Oh, there he is. That's sitting right in front of me. I think it came back over bid as well by about $4.5 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so they are doing some value engineering on that project as well to get it within cost. It turns out that construction costs are a whole lot more today than they were last year. And so just trying to keep up with what those bids are going to be. And, you have a certain amount of money, and as much as I would like to create it by waving the magic wand, it doesn't necessarily work that way. And so we're trying to get it within the dollar figure that we have to make that move. So I am optimistic that we're going to be able to go forward with it. It is going to go on the site of Browning Hall. So where Browning is located now, we will do another demolition of that property and then erect a new 400-bed residence hall on that property. This will be the last year of Browning Hall, so we intend that when students move out at the end of this spring, we'll start the demo process at that point and then begin the building process for that building. We anticipate, I told Dr. Luder we got 2 years because we're in a housing crunch. We anticipate it'll take a couple of years for the project to be done, with an anticipated opening date of fall 28 for the residence hall. That's
Good.
And so all of those projects are still moving forward. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort to ensure that we get to where we want in terms of cost and efficiency for those spaces, but they continue to move forward. So you asked about something else. Remind me what that was.
Let me ask on that. The renovations to admin building complete, everybody's back in? Or?
So no, it's not yet.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, not yet. I was actually in that building for about a week and a half when I started, and so I am interested in getting back into the space because all of the other administrators, they've been able to escape me all over campus, and so I'll be able to get to them quicker now once we get back in. We anticipate it's going to be sometime late first quarter 26 that facility is going to be done. We anticipated we had the funds for the first part. We were going to move people back in. We got the second part of the money before all of that was done. So there is a two-parter to this, which is what's taking it a little bit longer to get done than what you normally would anticipate that it would. Instead of moving folks back in at what would have been an active construction site in some ways, I said, let's just keep everybody out and let's do the whole thing. Let's get it done so that when folks move back in, it's completely done. So it's really close as well. We think sometime late first quarter into second quarter with eventual move-in sometime in the spring, maybe summer for most of the departments that are going to go back into space. Some of that is going to be phased just depending on, the areas and who needs to get back over there. Some of it will be like dominoes because some areas will need to move out of EPS to, so the business can move over, and so it will be this domino process that will occur that much smarter folks are going to figure out how we do that effectively.
The test hub, you said, and I guess I'm asking this because it will be kind of a regional education facility, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So the costs have exceeded what was appropriated,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Do you think you're still going to be able for that facility to be all all it needs to be?
I do,
or-
yeah,
okay.
yeah, I do. I think it's going to continue to, I mean, I think it can be all that, it will be all that we anticipated originally for it to be.
Okay.
It will, we're talking about finishes, we're talking about furniture, we are talking some about equipment, because of the nature of the facility that's there. We've had to consider how much of the stuff that is below the line in FF&E that would go above the line to cover the, cost of the building, and so we're doing some of that negotiating. And so I think it is going to be fine, and it doesn't mean that we will not continue to contribute dollars to it. So if we have to put a piece of equipment on hold, we may have to purchase it in a future year, or, if we find that the cost of construction goes down or changes, contingency funds that we have. And so our plan is to still not impact the effectiveness of that building and the efficiency of what those folks are going to be able to do in the facility. We want to impact it as little as possible.
Super. Just want to be sure.
Don't you think that the Farm Bureau Tennessee soybean test hub would be great?
Think so.
I'll give you the number from my
I would-
board.
I would love it.
But
We have a deal for you.
But on that, I know that facility, the nature of it, does have the capacity
Yes.
to reach out for private funding,
It
right?
does,
In a lot of different
absolutely.
ways. And that was the reason I was asking that question is, before it was scaled down, or we're missing something that would keep it from being effective or have the longevity it needed, that it is type of facility that development could go out there and
It is,
possibly
absolutely.
search for funds.
And they're already working on it, believe
Right,
it or not.
okay.
Even at the groundbreaking ceremony that we had potential, partners who were there that engaged with that process. And so advancement is working on it and trying to ensure that we're able to continue to, raise money. What I hope is going to happen, what I know is going to happen is we'll get some patents out of that building, because, it is where it'll be the center of innovation for our students, for faculty to be able to come together and work together. And so I anticipate we'll get some patents out of that building. So who knows what will be created that it'll generate a lot of money.
Let's hope so. It's an interesting concept, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dr. Freeman? My only request on the School of Business is that the debits need to be on the window side and the credits on the wall. That's the only way I can remember. I, like you, Dr. Freeman, I'm not upset about us maybe not reaching all of our goals, because if you reach all your goals, then you didn't have them high enough. They were too conservative. I want to reiterate how important this 125th anniversary is. Bob Carroll's probably the only person I know that was here all 125 years. But if you can come, it would be most appreciative. I think it will be a great event. The only other thing I have to say is our family had a tough quarter. And I appreciate all the outreach that I got from the university and from you guys. Very appreciative. Is there anything else that needs to come before this board?
Well, with Miss Darby Self's first time here, she was in Paris last time we met.
I was.
I thought she might want to say hello
Well,
or introduce yourself.
that's a great point.
You want to introduce yourself?
So, hi guys, I'm a sophomore here. I study mass media and strategic communication, and I'm so excited to be here.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Somerville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Glad you're here.
Glad you're here.
I was a dual enrollment student who came here.
There you
Good.
go.
Good job.
There you go. Anybody want to grill her about any other questions that she has? Is there anything else to be brought before this board? Otherwise, I will accept a motion for adjournment in a record time.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.